Straight off the bat, let me let you know that I only ever played Secret of Mana. I never played Trials of Mana on the original Super Nintendo. With this game, I made a huge mistake. You see, I kept comparing Trials of Mana to a modern Final Fantasy VII or a Persona 5. Trials feels inferior when you compare it to modern games. Story chapters are short, exploring from point A to point B is linear, and engaging in enemies is very rinse and repeat. But then I reached the second half of the game and it hit me. This isn't a remake intended to stun modern audiences, with revamped game mechanics and bonus materials up the wazoo to expand on the small scale of the original. First and foremost, this is a shot-for-shot Super Nintendo JRPG turned from 2D into 3D, with the main focus being to maintain that SNES JRPG era nostalgia while providing the player with modern controls and better menus. Square Enix made the unconventional and risky decision to cater to fans of the franchise primarily, and I applaud their decision because newcomers will feel alienated, but fans of old school JRPGs will feel right at home here. So you select your three main characters. I went with Duran, Reese, and Angela. Each character has their purpose to set out on the journey, usually being by some sort of a loss and need to get stronger to set things right. For example, Duran, who is his city's best fighter, gets trashed by the Crimson Wizard. Upon failing to protect his city Valsena, he sets off to upgrade his class and become stronger in order to defeat the Crimson Wizard. On your journey, you meet up with the other two members of your party. You also meet up with the fairy who tells you the world's mana is disappearing, the spiritual power that allows the use of magic and that some cities use as their source of energy. The squad learns of an evil plot by several people to gain control of the mana stones, of which there are 8, and to rule over the world. To be honest, the story is pretty straightforward. It more so serves as a purpose to travel around the world to the 8 stones. But again, this is full-on SNES era levels of storytelling. This was part of what turned me off about the game early on. Forgive me, I just had come off of completing Final Fantasy VII Remake and the PS1 version. Combat, visuals, and music is what's gonna grab you in Trials of Mana. Let's start with the combat.
Be careful! You missed!
The game's combat is action-based, allowing for pauses to select items or spells. You can switch between characters on the fly or select actions for them to perform. The battle takes place in a circle area once you engage enemies on screen. No loading into battle. Your bread and butter in combat will be simple melee combos. Do those enough and build your CS meter, which allows you to perform powerful cinematic special moves. Magic users can perform elemental spells or buffs and debuffs using MP. For the first half of the game, enemy encounters will be simple. That is, if the damn camera doesn't kill you. The camera, which you can't control while locked onto enemies, is an absolute abomination. Your view will get spun into a wall if you're not careful. But you'll learn to work around it like a bad knee injury. I found out if I unlock from an enemy and take control of the camera myself, it helps. But there are times you can't do that because your strategy won't allow it. Your party's AI can be a problem. There were times while fighting bosses where I just had to let them die and defeat the boss myself because they just couldn't stay out of the way of danger and they kept dying. I discovered something about myself while playing Trials of Mana, and it's probably why I always gravitated towards playing role-playing games. I really enjoy reading what abilities do for the party in terms of buffing, debuffing, and stat boosts. I enjoy applying those to my team and seeing what works in combat and succeeding as a result of my decisions. You'll do this plenty in Trials of Mana thanks to class changes. You see, once you reach levels 18 and 38, you can change your character's class to become stronger with new abilities. For example, here I changed Duran into a gladiator class, which gave him the power to imbue his weapon with fire, water, earth, and the wind, as well as a killer melee combo. But I also had the choice to make him a knight who can heal. Screw it, I went for max damage. It's this aspect of the game that becomes the most addictive. planning and selecting your team's abilities in order to defeat enemies later in the game. You see, later in the game you will have to venture around again, thankfully flying this time, to defeat 8 Benevodons who will kick your ass if you're not prepared. So grinding to unlock skill points and mastering your team gives basic fights purpose rather than being time wasters. And of course you have the big fights themselves that will test your preparation. The game's graphics are just fine. Don't listen to the negativity surrounding the look of the game. Towns are plentiful and brimming with detail. Towns are uniquely themed, whether it be because of the race that lives there or the climate the town's located in. Outside of town is the same deal. There's forest sections that each have a unique theme to them. You got beachside areas, caves with water features or poison lakes, as well as volcanoes with fire spurting from the walls. The game chills out with some ice sections. I love a good ice level. While venturing between towns, there's little secrets to find like currency or seeds, which you use to unlock powerful items. A cool addition are these stamps you need to find, which reward you with experience boosts and such for really going out of your way. Is it linear? Sure, but games were back then. Nothing overstays its welcome here. Time spent in places are short and sweet, which brings me to that sweet, sweet music. You get the choice between original or remastered. I kept it remastered, pumping through a nice 5.1 surround sound system. I think headphones will be good too. The music fits all the areas nicely with only a few reused themes here and there. The sound effects during battle are crystal clear, and the victory fanfare jingle never gets old.
Next. The strength. That was easy.
So is Trials of Mana the game of the year you never played? No, Trials of Mana took what worked about the SNES series and made it 3D with upgraded control and sound. The heart of the game remains fully intact. Thanks for sticking with me this far into the review. If you enjoyed it, make sure to subscribe. And if you're a returning viewer, thank you so much for coming back. Check out my other videos. I have a PlayStation 2 series where I go over some of the great PS2 JRPGs on that system as well. Take care, everyone. I'll see you on the next one.